B-A-T. It's in the name.
This episode of the Helping Healing Humor podcast is brought to you by Howell Wealth Management. On the Helping Healing Humor podcast, we talk about anxiety and stress and its impact on our everyday lives. We know that finances, including planning for retirement, is one of the leading causes of stress. It can be confusing and overwhelming. There are differing opinions on the best approach. It can be hard to know who to trust. For our retirement planning, Whitney and I trust Greg Howell of Howell Wealth Management at Northwestern Mutual. Greg is professional, knowledgeable, and accessible. He looks at the whole picture and thinks outside the box to create ways to help you reach your financial goals. Retirement planning can be especially challenging for ministers who do not have the benefit of a 401k, but Greg's expertise and creativity can get you on the right path and give you confidence for the future. Text him to schedule your free 15-minute consultation today at 931-638-1576. Be sure to tell him Ben and Travis sent you.
Welcome into the Helping Healing Humor podcast with Ben and Travis, brought to you by Friday Refresh, the podcast that comes out every other Friday. That's also brought to you by Ben and Travis. So I hope that you can join in on that sometime. We are coming off of a big weekend where we just finished up the Stayin Alive Disco Dodgeball tournament. It was fantastic. We had several groups with us. Very thankful for those who participated, all those who helped us out with it and sponsored it. Will, how are you feeling after the Disco Dodgeball?
Yeah, you're a jerk. I just want to say that off the top. Just because of how terrible I currently feel.
How's that arm doing? You still got a rotator cuff?
Man, we were sitting at lunch today, and I guess I had complained all morning long. Lindsay looked at me and goes, "Do you need to go to the hospital? Like, how bad are you really hurting?" And I looked at her and I was like, "I'm hurting pretty bad." Like, yeah, somebody asked me, they're like, "Well, how long did you play?" And I think I threw dodgeballs from 10 o'clock yesterday morning until about 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon. And fellas, I'm hurting in places that I didn't know you could hurt. And I mean, I feel better that some of my teenagers said, "Man, I'm so sore." So
see, there's the wisdom. We were hosting the tournament, so I didn't throw. I think I threw like 3 times just for the fun of it. So
yeah, I think a whole bathtub full of Epsom salt's about to welcome me here in just a little bit.
That's the fun part about officiating. Like, everybody doesn't like you, like my own kids that won the whole thing. They were pretty much over it and being nice to me by the end. But you're not going to make anybody happy. But I'll tell you this, my arm's not real sore today. It's not hurting. I am tired. But we'll be thinking of you, man, in the Epsom salt. But hey, not everybody can be in a best of 5 series and be down 2-1 and hit. I mean, how far back were you away from the goal there to
I think
put the team in a 2-2 tie?
I mean, I was well behind half court.
I think on the replay, I was a little bit behind half court. Mm-hmm. And which somebody's like, "Oh, you just threw a dodgeball in." And I had to remind them, we're throwing like an 8-ounce foam ball that curves.
It does this when it floats in the air.
Like when someone breathes in the gym. So I felt pretty good about that shot. We almost took it. It was me and, of course, all high school girls on a team, and they were very competitive. So I got to give a shout out to them. So it was a good time for us.
Well, I thought it was pretty neat that you hit that. I mean, it was 2-1, not looking pretty. And as we probably mentioned in other cases, we kind of changed it up. So it was a round robin. Everybody got to play 3 best of 3s, everybody that was involved. And then at the end of that, we took the final 4 was made up of those who won the most sets out of 3. And the final 4, the number 1 seed, I believe, was the Brave Bros, our Beltline. One of those were
they were the top 2, yeah.
Yeah, and then the 3 seed was Will's team, the Defenders of Equal Rights, and the Travis's Minions from Riverside was the final 4. the bottom 2 seeds are the ones who reach the final. So we flipped over to the final 4. We added bowling pins. And so if you knock down both bowling pins or knock out every member of the other team, you moved on. And then in the final, as we were talking about, Will, you can throw the ball into the goal from at least just past midcourt, and it's over. So there's 3 ways there to lose. All your people get out, knock down the pins, or put it in the goal. And Will did that, sent it to 2-2, and then Travis's minions were able to take home the golden wrench for 2022, along with the Brave Bros, who are our adult league champions, our adult division champions.
I got some teenage girls a little upset that they ended up beating the young adult men from their congregation, and they got a gold wrench.
Yeah.
And so there's been some talk of trying to steal that gold wrench from Blake.
Oh, that'd be fun.
So
I like this. This sounds interesting because it was a Highland Park team versus a Highland Park team. And Annalise Cox single-handedly destroyed the men because she's a goalie in soccer, and every time they tried to throw at her or at the bowling pin, she caught it and got like every man out on the whole team. So it was fantastic.
There were some rumblings that Will kind of put together a super team, which, to be honest, is not illegal. Completely legal. We just want your money, right? To raise money for St. Jude, Team Ben and Travis. We just had a few set rules in place. And then, if it came down to it, we would bend those too, because we're really there to have a good time. And I think most everybody had a good time. We had the great intros. Challenge you. The link is still live, benandtravis.com/dodgeball. And you can go see and find the live stream. It's, of course, on our YouTube channel as well. Hope to be clipping that up a little bit, maybe putting together some fun little highlight reels as well.
There was some good highlights too. There was one play it was one of those almost top 10 where he gets hit, it bobbles like 3 or 4 times, and he just misses catching it. It would have been fantastic. But then there was a couple that they didn't land them. So it was good times, man. It was awesome.
Had showdown rules. We had that come into play one time. And it was
Cole Kelly going up mano a mano with an adult. That was fantastic.
Yeah, I was kind of regretting that, but then I was like, that's the rules. Hopefully he knew when he got into it. But what we mean by showdown is it gets down to one person, 1v1, and after 10 seconds, all the lines, it kind of restarts behind their white line. But then when you say dodgeball, there are no lines, and so they could have chased each other all over the place. Thankfully, Cole threw the ball. It was caught rather than Cole
taking one to the face.
So as much as I would have chuckled later, it would have been difficult to maintain it at the moment. Of course, the balls we were using, I don't think it would have been done too much damage. But we had a little bit of everything on Saturday.
And speaking of that, Cole was there and just sort of joined a team last minute because we needed some folks. And he was there because his mom and dad run Quench Shoals, and they were there. They pulled up with a truck, and they had their energy drinks and their slushies and all sorts of good stuff there. They're all over the place in the shoals. If you're ever around, you can look up wherever they happen to be on that particular day. And if you have an event, you can get them to come out to it. And they did a great job. They donated. Cole has benefited from St. Jude through the years, and so they wanted to be a part of it, and they benefited some of their proceeds that day to it. So we appreciate the Kellys for helping us out in that way.
Yeah, speaking of the live stream, that presentation brought to you by our title sponsors, CYC and Transform, brought that to you, and so we certainly appreciate them. CYC, obviously a huge part. I guess it would be better to say Ben and Travis is a part of CYC rather than the other way around, but we appreciate them. Larry bringing Jackson Heights, of course, his crew, the Trash Monkeys, which was phenomenal. It was amazing.
It was fun times too, for sure.
They were involved in one of our cutthroat matchups where we got down to 3 teams that needed to kind of rotate through, and they were the ones who kind of won out that cutthroat portion of the live.
Somebody has come back from the pool.
Hey, there he is. I was just about to mention the special guest referee, rush starter, dodgeball starter with the whistle and all that good stuff. And there he is, Mr. Cypress Hayes, everybody.
There you go. So we are up here actually in Memphis. So if you can tell, there's a red light kind of behind me in the window. That's the Peabody. And Will, just because you feel so great today, that's where the finish line is at. So
That's right.
Aren't you looking forward to? Are you doing the full this year? Or are you doing the half?
The full.
Or are you going to sign up for the full, like a full, and then do the half again?
You know, I've been reading Matthew 5, and it talks about insulting your brother, and I'm just feeling a lot of that going on here. But I can tell you what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to the chocolate milk that will be at that finish line.
No doubt.
And I'm looking forward to the fulfillment that I not only get from crossing the line, but the money that we raise for St. Jude, which has been a lot over the past couple of years. And part of that has come from Cypress being a patient up there. And that's the reason the dodgeball tournament and stuff like that happens. So there's just a lot of fulfillment, and there's a way that you can, if you're listening, that you can still be a part of that and donate. I'm sure the links, are ever present in our social media and the emails and the things that we send out. But definitely looking forward to the first weekend in December. Just one of my favorite weekends of the year.
Yeah, it's so much fun. We've got a good crowd coming this year. And you said something about the chocolate milk. We drove down one street a while ago, and there was a Wendy's. And I was like, hey, that's the Wendy's that I remember running past while we were in the middle of it and thinking, hey, I could just jump in there real quick and grab me a Frosty, but I didn't. So anyway, fun times.
You mentioned supporting. You can still support. We raised $3,000 between dodgeball and the Batify 5K. And I think all of us are trying to raise at least $3,000 apiece, right? Mm-hmm. And so we're closing in on that. Ben, I think we hit your level where you'll be wearing neon. Is that right?
I believe that is correct. I got to start, shopping around for my outfit. I don't have a whole lot of neon just laying around, but we'll see what we can find.
And then last night before midnight, I actually broke into level 3. And so we're going to need the Will of Will before December. Every person that donates gets to put in an option of what I'm going to wear running the 5K in December. The guy who put me over the list, I'm not going to share his name, but I'll just say this. He sent me his option, and there was a whole lot of blue and orange. And I'm not looking
like I might know who this was.
So I'm going to put my plea out there that all those Bama fans or Riverside people that are not Tennessee fans need to start donating, because I need to fill that Will of Will up with things I don't mind wearing so much. But
so I can donate like $10 and fill it up with a bunch of red stuff.
Absolutely, yeah.
Or orange.
Or for our next sponsor, I wanted to mention that helped sponsor and let us borrow the wonderful Caleb Sampson, Heritage Christian University. I'd love to wear Heritage Green in December. And so, all those Heritage folks out there, come on, donate to my 3,000, and I'll gladly wear green over orange any day of the week. But let's talk a little bit about Caleb Sampson, y'all. Like,
oh man, awesome.
Seriously, live streamed all day. If you chatted with us through that, he was probably the one replying back to you.
Yeah, and he was having a good time too. I think he was laughing at a lot of the stuff that was taking place at most people's expenses, like Will's. When things would happen to them. But he was quiet behind the scenes. He's that kind of guy. I appreciate him for all that he did. Because if you got to watch it, if you haven't watched it, you can go watch it. It's still available on Facebook, YouTube. What else is it available on, Travis?
Facebook, YouTube. I don't know that you can access it on TikTok anymore. But yeah, Facebook and YouTube is where it's at. Like I said, I'm going to try to clip that up, get us some highlights.
There's some good stuff on there too. The intros, especially that first game, were incredible. So but he did a great job moving the shots around. So just thank you, Caleb.
Anybody that's willing to put several thousands of dollars worth of camera equipment on the line at a dodgeball tournament just to help support St. Jude, you got all my respect.
If he wasn't prayed up, I prayed a lot the night before. That was definitely in there. You mentioned the intro, and we got to mention she's been on the podcast the last 2 weeks, but Karen Mann, she has supported monetarily. She was one of our sponsors, but then I think she worked the spotlight for us.
She did. And the booth, the T-shirt booth some, and she went and got the pizzas for us. So
memes. She made some great memes. I'm going to rip those off of Facebook and share them before the end of the week, hopefully. But, man, always great. Always a wonderful friend of the podcast. And reach out to her. Look at last couple of episodes. There's information on how you can get in touch with her about her counseling and all of that good stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. Also, we need to do a shout out to Clear Choice Window Cleaning. They did one of the sponsorships to Andy White is willing and able to clean just about anything you need around the house, outside type stuff. And so we appreciate them for jumping in and making a donation and being one of our sponsors for it too.
We were at Mars Hill. And there's always your normal cast of characters around Mars Hill. And one of those, I don't think that she made the dodgeball tournament necessarily, but Denise Willingham and Run to the Cross, which is coming up soon.
They do it on the campus at Cross Point, Church of Christ. Yeah. Just down the road from Mars Hill.
Be sure to check them out. Support them. Go run that race. It'll help you get prepped to join us in Memphis a couple of months after that, but they're always strong supporters. She's allowed us to use her clock. They've donated monetarily, and man, we just appreciate them very much.
You got to shout out your RCA kids.
Oh yeah,
I mean, ran, collecting money, doing all that. So, sometimes we get the teenagers a bad rap, but they were great, very helpful, to have watching over some stuff and everything. So
even if they thought you were staying at a Hilton, it made you run around town finding them some blankets and towels and everything else.
And shout out, here's another one. Shout out to Doris Creasy for always being prepared for her son to bring 16 teenagers to Florence. Not only does she chaperone them, but then she allows them to borrow sheets and towels and pillows and everything else. And to mention Heritage again, they gave us a great deal on the cabins there at the campus. They're beautiful cabins. So shout out to HCU. And if they didn't know about it, specifically Travis Harmon, thanks, dude. Well, to wrap up our disco dodgeball talk, guys, tell me, what's your favorite thing, maybe dodgeball wise, maybe not even on the court. Maybe it could be something athletic that you saw. Or whatever, but I know that after a big weekend of dodgeball, the last thing Will wants to do is talk about a full marathon. So we won't talk about that again.
I'll say this. I mean, there's a lot of great plays, and if I tried to, think about specifics, I'd probably mess it up. But I was noticing today the picture of the men from Highland Park, and I know that's where I'm at, so apologize for that little bit of just, homeboy kind of thing. But the guys being there with their families and then not being afraid just to be total goofballs for this. And we appreciate that because we live that life and live that world a little bit because we enjoy, that having fun, being goofy, whatever else. But it was just awesome to see them. There was a couple of guys that I've never seen them from that, that side of them. And when John McCart does the worm, it was just incredible. Like nobody was expecting it. And just that kind of thing, having a good time, showing the teenagers that, hey, here's a bunch of adults that are willing to get out here and have a good time. I think they thought there was probably going to be some other adult teams, but them getting called out first and acting like that really set the stage, I think, for the whole thing.
Well, I put a lot of faith in them because I think that's why I put them up there first. I wanted to see them because I thought, these guys will set the tone. They know what it's about here. And if they're willing to be a little goofy And man, they did not disappoint. So
Yeah,
yeah,
not at
absolutely.
all.
Shout out to the Braves Bros, and of course our resident Barner, Blake Holly Monster Holloman. So, what about you, Will?
Well, every time we go to some event, all my youth group does is talk about how about I cheat just because I'm too competitive and I always want to win.
And they've already talked about it.
Yeah. So for the people that weren't at the tournament, we had a Highland Park girls youth group team and a Highland Park boys youth group team. And us being able to beat the boys, make the Final Four, and them not even make the Final Four, just maybe it's a youth minister thing. I don't know, man.
Pouring some salt in the wounds now.
Man, I find so much joy in just, the humiliation that they had to endure leaving the tournament, and just how much humility they got. Great spiritual lesson. Couldn't have been taught a better way.
Hey, the girls didn't think you cheated. That's good.
That's right. No, to me, I'll always have fun. In my youth group, they give it back to me just as much as I give it to them. And so to me, things like this that we can support and bond with not just our youth group, but so many other people just to like minds and have a blast doing it. Just complete joy for me.
Awesome. Be careful. There's a wild animal over there, Will.
Sounds like
it's
coming after you.
Sorry. I think the garage just opened.
No problem. I'll start off with a little bit of disappointment. We played Stayin' Alive on the intro a couple of times, and nobody reenacted the CPR scene from The Office. So 2023 Disco Dodgeball Tournament, I'm throwing down the gauntlet. We need that. We need somebody to do it. But other than that, man, it was just a tremendous weekend. A lot of grace, mercy, as this was our first go at it. We'll be a lot better next year. But it was just awesome to see our community, the people that we know, the people who know our bumps and bruises and our faults and all that stuff, who are willing to put that aside to help a bunch of kids. And that's what we want to do first and foremost. So that was really neat to me. Come up with, and still don't even know where that came from, but I hit you guys up early or at the end of last year, early this year, like, hey, what if we did a dodgeball tournament, a disco dodgeball tournament? And then
the most random thing.
Somebody went with the pun, Stayin' Alive. And then, of course, you had Karen coming in from the top rope with There Will Be Trauma, which is on the staff shirt that we all three have. But that's just always cool. We had Bradley there. He loved it. Awesome. He thought it was he was not going to leave. Like, they tried to leave a couple of times. He's like, oh, I'm not leaving, basically, till I see Riverside win, which blows my mind because that's him. And he's done this to me before. When I was a teenager playing at Central High School, he totally went to a Brooks game where I was playing against Brooks and cheered against me. So Destin and Jackson, you now know what it's like. He did that to his own brother. So don't feel bad that you're his niece or nephew and he cheered against you, because he totally will. And he was just hoping Riverside would win. And in his mind, those are the same kids that wrote him a letter 10 years ago. Those kids are all grown up and got kids of their own now. But to see him take a picture with them and just eat it up. But, man, there's just so many overcomers there. There was Bradley, who's overcome a lot. There's Cypress. There's Cole. And, that's what we want with this thing. And so we just ask that you come along, benandtravis.com/dodgeball. There's also a tag at Ben and Travis. It says St. Jude on the menu. You can click there and donate to any of our team members. But, guys, I appreciate you. Love you. Be safe, Ben, on your travels home. Ice up, Will. I think there's a rematch in the future.
We're ready. We're coming for the especially when the kids walked out and said, we're from Tennessee and we own this state. I was like, oh man.
I didn't hear that. I'd have thrown that last game if I'd have heard that. Be like, no, that's not happening.
Thanks for being with us for this episode of the Helping Healing Humor podcast. Be sure to download our free ebook, 28 Days of Focused Living, at benandtravis.com and receive all of our Helping Healing and Humor extra content directly in your inbox. We look forward to having you join us at the same Ben and Travis time, same Ben and Travis channel.